Mira stepped off the shuttle and blinked against the soft glow of Zithara's skies. The planet was unlike anything she had ever seen. Floating islands drifted gently above the surface, connected by shimmering bridges of light. Trees glowed faintly, their leaves shimmering like lanterns in the evening. The air smelled sweet, like blooming fruit mixed with fresh rain. Mira took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. This was her first mission as a human diplomat to the Interstellar Council, and everything about Zithara felt both magical and overwhelming. As she walked across a floating bridge, her translator buzzed softly. "Welcome, Mira. You have been assigned a partner for cultural exchange," the voice said. Mira nodded, though a part of her felt nervous. She had read the Council's files on her assigned partner, but could not fully imagine meeting her in person. The briefing had described Neri as a Zitharan of petite stature, energetic personality, and brilliant mind. But seeing her in real life was always different from reading reports. From the corner of her eye, Mira noticed a small figure approaching. Neri was indeed tiny, standing at about half Mira's height. Her skin shimmered in shades of soft lavender, and her large eyes sparkled like polished crystals. When Neri reached her, she tilted her head slightly and smiled, a smile that seemed both playful and confident. "Human," Neri said in her melodic voice. "You've been assigned a lover, and it's me." Mira froze, unsure how to respond. Her cheeks warmed with embarrassment, and she glanced away. I didn't expect," she started, but Neri waved a hand, laughing softly. "Relax, it is just a term for partnership here. Nothing awkward," Neri explained, her tone calm and cheerful. Mira felt a little relieved, though her heart still beat fast. Neri motioned toward a small hovering platform. "Shall we begin your orientation?" Mira nodded and stepped onto the platform. It lifted gently, gliding above the glowing gardens below. As they moved, Neri pointed out unusual plants, each with shimmering leaves or flowers that floated slightly above the stems. "These are called lumiferns," Neri said. "They respond to touch and light. Humans call them glowing ferns." Mira reached out and touched one. It swayed gently, glowing brighter where her fingers brushed the surface. She laughed softly at the sensation, feeling the first spark of curiosity about this world. As they floated higher, Neri explained more about Zitharan culture. "Our cities float to avoid disturbing the natural life below. Every island has its purpose: gardens, homes, laboratories, or councils. Humans may find it unusual, but we value harmony with our environment." Mira listened carefully, noting the differences from Earth. She thought about how humans often relied on machines and concrete, while Zitharans had learned to blend technology with nature. The platform descended near a small building that looked like a crystalline dome. Neri gestured for Mira to follow her inside. The interior was bright and airy, filled with soft light that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Holographic displays hovered in the air, showing maps of the city, energy flows, and daily schedules. "This is your learning center," Neri said. "You will spend time here understanding our ways so you can share your own human perspectives too." Mira nodded, still feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Neri's presence, however, made her feel more comfortable. The petite alien moved with confidence, guiding Mira through the displays, answering questions, and occasionally teasing her gently when she struggled with Zitharan gestures. Mira noticed how Neri's laughter was light and infectious. Slowly, her embarrassment began to fade, replaced by genuine curiosity. By the time the orientation ended, the sun, or rather Zithara's twin suns, was setting, casting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Mira and Neri stood outside, looking at the floating gardens below. "Tomorrow we will begin real training," Neri said softly. "But tonight, just enjoy the view." Mira smiled, feeling a warmth she had not expected. She realized that this assignment might be different from what she had imagined. It was not just a duty. It might be the beginning of something extraordinary. For the first time on Zithara, Mira felt both awe and comfort. She had arrived as a human diplomat, cautious and uncertain. But under Neri's small, confident smile, she began to sense that she was in a place where she could learn, grow, and maybe even belong. The next morning, Mira woke to a soft hum filling the crystal dome. Sunlight filtered through the translucent walls, painting the room in warm, golden colors. She rubbed her eyes and stretched, thinking about the strange but beautiful world outside. Today she would start learning more about Zitharan culture with Neri. She felt both nervous and excited. Neri was already waiting outside, bouncing lightly on her small feet. "Good morning, human," she called in her melodic tone. "Ready to begin?" Mira smiled and nodded. She noticed how the petite alien seemed full of energy, like she had slept only for a few minutes but was ready to explore the whole planet. Their first lesson was communication. Zithrans did not speak like humans. Their language was a combination of musical tones and gestures. A single word could have many meanings depending on how it was sung or which hand motion accompanied it. Mira struggled at first. She tried to mimic the tones, but they often came out flat or wrong. Neri tilted her head, giggling softly. "Do not worry, human. Your sounds are strange, but you are learning. That is what matters." To help, Neri guided Mira through simple exercises. They sat in a circle facing each other and repeated short phrases. Mira watched Neri's hands, her eyes, and the gentle sway of her body. Slowly, the meaning started to make sense. A small movement of Neri's fingers meant curiosity. A tilt of her head meant agreement. Mira found herself smiling as she learned, realizing that communication could be more than words. It was also feeling and attention. After the morning session, Neri led Mira to a floating garden. The air was cool and fragrant. Trees with transparent trunks stretched upward, their branches glowing softly. Flowers hovered slightly above their stems, spinning slowly in the gentle breeze. Mira reached out to touch one. It shivered and glowed brighter where her fingers brushed the petals. Neri laughed, the sound like music. "They enjoy attention," she said. "Just like humans, they respond to kindness." As they walked along the glowing paths, Neri explained more about Zithran society. "We value balance and observation. Every action has meaning. We learn from nature and from each other." Mira nodded, fascinated. On Earth, humans often rushed, always seeking results. Here the pace was slower, more thoughtful. She realized that this approach allowed people, and even plants, to thrive in harmony. During lunch, Neri offered Mira a fruit she had never seen before. It was small, shaped like a star and softly luminescent. "Taste it," Neri encouraged. Mira bit carefully. The flavor was sweet, tangy, and slightly fizzy, leaving a warm feeling in her mouth. She laughed. "It's amazing." Neri smiled, pleased. "You humans have simple tastes, but curiosity brings great reward." In the afternoon, Neri introduced a Zithran game. It involved floating orbs that responded to touch and light. Players had to guide the orbs through patterns without breaking their energy flow. Mira struggled at first. The orbs floated away from her fingers, spinning out of control. Neri hovered beside her, giving gentle hints. "Use your mind and your heart," she said softly. Mira focused, letting her hands move calmly, and finally guided the last orb into place. Neri clapped her small hands and laughed with delight. "See? You learn quickly when you are patient." As the day ended, Mira and Neri sat on a floating bridge, watching the twin suns begin to set. The sky was painted in pink, purple, and gold. Mira felt a quiet happiness. She had started the day nervous and uncertain, but now she felt connected, not only to this strange, glowing world, but also to Neri. The petite alien sat close, smiling, and Mira realized that she was beginning to enjoy these moments more than she expected. "Human," Neri said softly, tilting her head. "You are curious, patient, and brave. You may not know it yet, but you have qualities that many Zithrans admire." Mira blushed, feeling warmth spread through her chest. She realized that Neri's words were not just encouragement, they were genuine appreciation. For the first time, Mira understood that this partnership was not just a duty assigned by the council. It could become a journey of friendship, learning, and trust. As the suns disappeared below the horizon, casting the floating gardens in soft starlight, Mira felt a sense of wonder. She knew that the days ahead with Neri would challenge her, teach her, and perhaps show her a side of herself she had never seen before. The next morning, Mira woke feeling eager. Today, Neri had promised to show her Zithran traditions in action. She quickly dressed and joined Neri in the glowing courtyard of the floating city. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of lumiferns and sweet fruits. Mira looked around, noticing Zithrans moving gracefully across the platforms, their movements almost like a dance. "Today you will learn more than words," Neri said, bouncing lightly on her feet. "You will learn how we live, how we celebrate, and how we connect with each other." Mira nodded, her heart racing with curiosity. They began with the aerial dance, a tradition Zitherans used to celebrate life and harmony. Small platforms floated in patterns above the courtyard, and participants leapt from one to another, their movements coordinated with music and light. Neri grabbed Mira's hand. "Do not worry if you fall," she said with a smile. "Balance comes with trust." Mira hesitated, then stepped onto the first platform. To her surprise, it responded to her weight, tilting slightly and then stabilizing. She laughed, gripping Neri's hand tighter as they moved together. Neri guided her, showing how to shift weight, extend arms, and move with rhythm. Step by step, Mira began to float lightly between platforms. She laughed again as she twirled, feeling almost as if she were flying. Neri's encouraging smile made her feel braver. After the dance, Neri led Mira to a grove filled with bioluminescent plants. The leaves shimmered in soft blues and greens, creating a peaceful glow. "This is our reflection garden," Neri explained. "We come here to share thoughts, emotions, and stories. The plants respond to our feelings, helping us connect with ourselves and others." Mira reached out to touch a glowing flower. As she did, a gentle warmth spread through her fingers. Neri's voice was soft. "It is like sharing energy. Humans have emotions, and so do we. Here we can see them in the world around us." Mira felt a strange but pleasant sensation. The garden seemed alive, almost aware of her presence. She realized how much she had to learn about this planet and its people. For lunch, Neri introduced her to Zitharan fruits and dishes. One fruit looked like a tiny star and glowed faintly. Another was smooth and jelly-like with a tangy flavor. Mira tasted each one carefully, amazed at the complex, vibrant flavors. Neri laughed at Mira's wide-eyed expressions. "Humans eat quickly, but you savor like artists," she said. Mira smiled, enjoying the small moment of connection. In the afternoon, Neri took Mira to the Harmony Hall, a place where Zitherans practiced mental alignment exercises. They sat in a quiet circle, focusing on breathing, thoughts, and subtle energy flows. Neri explained, "We learn to sense others' feelings and intentions. It helps us work together, make decisions, and understand the world." Mira tried to follow, feeling her thoughts slow and her mind clear. Though it was strange at first, she found herself relaxing, sensing Neri's energy beside her, steady and calm. As the day went on, Mira began to see the depth of Zitharan life. Their traditions were not just celebrations, they were tools for understanding, connection, and harmony. Mira also noticed how Neri seemed to move through each activity effortlessly, guiding others with patience and gentle confidence. Mira admired her deeply. She wanted to learn everything she could, not just for the assignment, but because being with Neri made her curious about life in a way she had never felt before. When the twin suns began to set, casting soft pink and gold light across the floating city, Mira and Neri returned to a small terrace overlooking the gardens. Mira felt tired but happy. "Thank you, Neri," she said softly. "Today was amazing. I feel like I'm beginning to understand Zithara, and also—" "You," Neri smiled, her small frame glowing in the twilight. "You are learning fast, human. Not just about our ways, but about yourself. That is more important than any dance or game. You are curious, kind, and brave, qualities that will help you everywhere." Mira felt warmth spread through her chest. She realized that this journey was becoming something more than a duty. It was a chance to grow, to learn, and maybe even to form a bond that could last beyond their assignment. As the night settled over the floating city, Mira stood beside Neri, watching the lights of Zithara glow. She felt a sense of wonder and belonging she had never expected. This world, strange and beautiful, was teaching her not just about another species but about her own potential, and she knew, deep inside, that Neri would be part of that journey every step of the way. The morning air on Zithara was cool and fresh as Mira and Neri stepped onto the floating bridge that connected two of the city's larger islands. Today, Neri had promised a special activity, but Mira could see the unusual tension in the air. A distant hum vibrated through the city, and the usual smooth flow of floating platforms seemed slightly off balance. "Something is wrong," Neri said, her melodic voice calm but serious. "The energy core of this district is unstable. If it fails, part of the city could collapse." Mira's eyes widened. She had read about emergencies in alien cities, but never imagined seeing one firsthand. "What can I do?" she asked, feeling a mix of fear and determination. Neri tilted her head and smiled softly. "Observe, help, and learn. Humans have ways of thinking differently. That may help us." Together, they moved quickly toward the energy core, a large crystalline structure at the center of the district. It pulsed with glowing light, flickering irregularly. Small cracks ran across its surface, and the hum of power vibrated through Mira's feet. Zitharan engineers worked around them, adjusting floating conduits and tuning energy flows. Neri guided Mira to a console that displayed the core's stability. "You see these patterns?" Neri asked. "They show where energy is weak or unstable. Can you think of a way to stabilize it?" Mira studied the patterns carefully. Her mind raced through possibilities, recalling lessons from Earth about circuits, balance, and energy flow. "I think if we redirect the energy through the side conduits first, it might stabilize the main core," Mira suggested. Neri's eyes lit up. "Good idea. Humans often see things differently. Let's try it." Working together, they guided energy flows through side channels. Mira pressed buttons, adjusted sliders, and coordinated with Neri, who hovered nearby, her small hands moving gracefully over holographic controls. At first, nothing seemed to change. Mira's stomach tightened with worry, but Neri placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Trust yourself, human. You are capable." Mira nodded and focused. Slowly, the core's flickering light steadied. The hum became smooth again, and the floating platforms above stopped swaying. A cheer went up from the engineers, and Mira felt a surge of pride and relief. Neri laughed softly, bouncing lightly beside her. "See? Humans are clever, especially when they care." Mira smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. She realized that working alongside Neri made her braver, more confident, and more connected to this world. Neri's calm guidance and trust had given her the courage to act. Once the emergency was resolved, Neri led Mira to a quiet platform overlooking the city. The twin suns reflected on the glowing trees, casting soft colors across the floating islands. Mira sat down, still catching her breath. "I never imagined I could help in a situation like that," she admitted. "I was scared, but it worked." Neri tilted her head, her smile gentle. "Courage is not the absence of fear, human. It is the choice to act despite it. You showed courage, patience, and intelligence. That is why you are valuable, not only to humans, but to Zithara as well." Mira felt her cheeks warm. She realized that Neri's words were more than praise. They were recognition, trust, and perhaps even admiration. They spent the rest of the day walking through the floating gardens, sharing quiet laughter and stories. Mira noticed how Neri's small size did not limit her energy or confidence. In fact, her presence felt larger than life, guiding Mira gently but firmly through challenges. Mira felt a deep respect and a budding fondness for her partner. As the night approached, the city shimmered in soft light, and the energy hum of Zithara became calm and steady. Mira looked at Neri, realizing that what had started as a formal assignment was becoming something more meaningful. They had faced a challenge together, and in the process, Mira had discovered not only her own strengths but also the depth of Neri's kindness and brilliance. Sitting side by side on the floating platform, Mira felt a quiet sense of pride and connection. The city around them glowed like a sea of stars, and she knew that the days ahead would bring more lessons, more challenges, and perhaps a deeper bond that went beyond duty. With Neri by her side, she felt ready for anything Zithara could show her. The morning sun cast soft golden light over the floating city, as Mira followed Neri through a narrow passageway, lined with shimmering crystals. Today Neri had promised to show Mira a part of Zithara few humans rarely saw. Mira's curiosity was alive with anticipation. She felt both excitement and a slight nervousness. She didn't know what secrets this part of the city might hold. "This way," Neri said, her melodic voice cheerful yet mysterious. "We are going to the historical archives. Here you can learn more about Zitharan life, culture, and my own history. Knowledge is our greatest treasure." Mira's eyes widened. She had studied Zitharan culture from Earth, but nothing could prepare her for seeing it in person. They entered a dome-shaped building that seemed to hum softly with energy. The walls were lined with floating crystals, each projecting holographic images of Zitharan history. Mira gasped as she saw scenes of past generations, discoveries, and great celebrations. Neri guided her hand to a crystal that glowed brighter than the rest. "This one is mine," Neri said softly. Mira looked closer and saw images of Neri as a young Zitharan, learning, playing, and training. "You grew up here?" Mira asked, amazed. Neri nodded, her eyes sparkling. "Yes, my family trained me to understand energy, balance, and communication. From early on, I was curious about life beyond Zithera. When the council assigned me to you, I was amused, but I was also curious about humans. Mira felt a warm flutter in her chest. She realized that Neri had chosen to approach their partnership with an open mind, not just following rules. They moved deeper into the archives, and Neri showed Mira holographic records of Zitheran inventions and cultural practices. Mira noticed how thoughtful and precise every detail was. Zitherans see the world differently, Neri explained. We study patterns, energy flows, and relationships. We learn not only to live, but to understand. Humans are different, but your ways are clever. You teach through curiosity, emotion, and action. Mira smiled. Neri's words were kind but honest. Mira realized that this partnership was a two-way exchange, not a one-sided assignment. Neri then led Mira to a small chamber filled with floating lights that responded to motion and emotion. This is the emotion room, Neri said. Here we can sense feelings and share them. It is personal and powerful. Do you want to try? Mira nodded, intrigued. Neri extended her small hand. Mira reached out, and as their fingers brushed, the lights shifted and danced. Mira felt warmth, calmness, and a strange sense of closeness she had not expected. You feel it too? Neri asked softly. Mira nodded, unable to find words. The room seemed to make every emotion visible yet safe. Mira realized that she and Neri had begun to understand each other in ways beyond words. Trust, respect, and perhaps the beginnings of friendship were shining between them like the floating lights. After leaving the emotion room, they walked through a quiet corridor where holograms of Zitheran art floated gently. Neri paused and picked one image, a small creature interacting with a human child. I like this one, she said. It reminds me that understanding comes from small actions and shared moments. Humans can teach us patience, bravery, and care. Mira felt a smile spreading across her face. She understood that Neri saw value in human qualities, and that thought warmed her heart. By the time they returned to the gardens outside, the twin suns were setting, casting shades of pink and orange across the floating city. Mira felt a quiet joy. She had learned not only about Zitheran history and culture, but also about Neri herself. The petite alien was clever, kind, and thoughtful, and her guidance made Mira feel capable and appreciated. Sitting on a softly glowing platform, Mira looked at Neri. Thank you for showing me all of this, she said. I feel like I understand you and Zithera so much more now. Neri smiled, her small form glowing in the twilight. And you have shown me that humans have great courage, curiosity, and heart. That is a rare gift. I am glad it is you I share this with. As the floating city settled into night, Mira realized that this assignment was becoming more than duty or protocol. It was a journey of trust, learning, and connection, one that she was beginning to treasure deeply. With Neri by her side, she felt that the world of Zithera, with all its mysteries, was a place where humans could shine in unexpected ways. The morning sun rose softly over the floating gardens of Zithera, casting golden light across the shimmering platforms. Mira stretched and smiled, feeling excited for the day ahead. Today, Neri had promised something special, an adventure outside the city where humans rarely ventured. Mira felt a flutter of anticipation as she met Neri at the edge of the platform. Good morning, human, Neri said, bouncing lightly on her feet. Are you ready for exploration? Mira nodded eagerly, her eyes wide with curiosity. Where are we going? She asked. Neri smiled mysteriously. You will see. The forest of glowing flora awaits. The forest was a wonder beyond imagination. Trees towered high, their branches glowing in soft blue and green light. Flowers hovered slightly above the ground, spinning gently as if dancing with the wind. Strange creatures with translucent wings flitted from tree to tree, leaving trails of sparkling light behind them. Mira gasped, feeling as if she had stepped into a dream. Neri led the way, moving lightly and gracefully through the forest. These plants and creatures respond to energy and emotion, Neri explained. They sense kindness, curiosity, and attention. Humans can affect them with thoughts and actions just as we Zitherans can. Mira reached out to touch a glowing flower. It shimmered brightly under her fingers, and she laughed softly, feeling joy ripple through her chest. After exploring for a while, Neri introduced a Zitheran game involving floating orbs. The orbs moved with energy and light, and the players had to guide them through patterns without breaking the flow. Mira watched carefully as Neri demonstrated, her small hands moving gracefully in the air. Then it was Mira's turn. At first, the orb spun out of control. Mira laughed nervously, unsure how to regain their rhythm. Neri hovered beside her, placing a gentle hand on Mira's shoulder. "Relax, use your mind and your heart together," she said softly. Mira closed her eyes for a moment, focusing on calm thoughts and gentle movements. Slowly, the orbs began to respond. Step by step, she guided each one through the glowing patterns. When the final orb floated into place, Neri clapped her small hands, laughing with delight. "See? You can do anything when you focus and believe in yourself." Mira smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest. She realized that Neri's guidance made her feel braver and more confident than she had ever imagined. She admired how Neri could teach without pressure, encouraging her with patience and gentle humor. For the first time, Mira felt a true sense of partnership, not just as a human diplomat, but as someone who was learning and growing alongside another being. As the day continued, they walked through streams of glowing water, played simple games of balance on floating rocks, and shared stories of Earth and Zithera. Mira told Neri about human traditions, festivals of lights, music, and family celebrations. Neri listened carefully, her large, sparkling eyes full of curiosity. In turn, Neri showed Mira how Zitherans viewed the world, how every action, no matter how small, could create harmony or change. By evening, the twin suns began to set, casting soft shades of pink, purple, and gold across the forest. Mira and Neri sat on a floating platform, watching the lights of the flora shimmer in the dim glow. Mira felt a quiet happiness. She had not only learned new skills and games, but also felt closer to Neri than ever before. The petite alien had become more than an assigned partner. She was a guide, a friend, and perhaps something even deeper. "Human," Neri said softly, tilting her head. "Today, you have shown curiosity, patience, and courage. You are learning more than you realize, not just about Zithera, but about yourself." Mira smiled, feeling her cheeks warm. She understood that these moments were not just lessons, they were shared experiences that strengthened trust, respect, and connection. As night settled over the forest, the floating lights danced like stars around them. Mira felt a sense of wonder and belonging. She knew that with Neri by her side, every challenge and adventure ahead would be an opportunity to grow, learn, and discover the beauty of both Zithera and humanity. In that quiet, glowing moment, she felt certain that this journey was far from ordinary. It was the beginning of something extraordinary. The morning light bathed the floating city in a soft golden glow. Mira stood at the edge of a terrace, feeling a mix of excitement and calm. Today marked the final stage of her assignment on Zithera. The council had already seen their bond and abilities, and Mira knew that the lessons she had learned here would stay with her forever. Beside her, Neri bounced lightly on her small feet, eyes sparkling with quiet joy. "Human," Neri said, her melodic voice gentle. "Today we celebrate what we have achieved. Not because the council told us to, but because we chose to understand and trust each other." Mira smiled. She realized that this partnership had grown far beyond duty or rules. It had become genuine friendship, mutual respect, and a bond that neither distance nor time could easily break. Neri led Mira to one of the highest floating towers, a place that overlooked much of the glowing city. The platforms below shimmered in shades of blue, green, and gold, reflecting the harmony of Zitheran life. From here, Mira could see the floating islands, the gardens, and the pathways that connected everything in a delicate balance. It was a breathtaking sight, and Mira felt both awe and peace. They spent the morning exploring the tower's hidden paths, sharing small games and stories. Mira told Neri about Earth's landscapes, mountains, oceans, and forests. Neri listened carefully, eyes wide with curiosity. In turn, Neri showed Mira secret parts of Zithera that even few Zitherans knew, from hidden gardens to quiet streams of glowing water. Mira felt honored and grateful for Neri's trust, and she realized that she had begun to think of Zithera as a second home. After their exploration, Neri guided Mira to a platform suspended above a serene lake of luminescent water. "Look," Neri said softly, pointing to the surface. "The water reflects not just the sky, but energy and intention. When we act with care, it shines brightly. When we act without thought, it fades." Mira stared at her reflection mingled with the soft glow of the water. She thought about all she had learned here, about Zitheran culture, about courage, and about the importance of connection. "I never imagined this journey would be so meaningful," Mira said quietly. I came as a human diplomat, but I leave with knowledge, friendship, and a sense of trust I've never felt before." Neri smiled, small hands brushing gently against Mira's. "And I never imagined a human could teach me patience, courage, and creativity in ways no Zitharan lesson could. Together we have learned more than we ever expected." As the twin suns began to set, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and purple, Mira and Neri sat together, watching the glowing city below. Mira felt a calm happiness, a sense of belonging and accomplishment. The partnership that had begun as an assignment had grown into something extraordinary, a connection that was mutual, genuine, and full of potential for the future. Neri turned to Mira, her small frame glowing in the twilight. "Human," she said softly, "this is not the end. It is a new beginning. We can continue to explore, learn, and grow together. Our bond is stronger than any rule or time limit." Mira nodded, feeling a deep warmth in her chest. She knew Neri was right. The lessons, the trust, and the friendship they had built would last far beyond Zithara, far beyond any council decision. Hand in hand, they descended the tower, stepping carefully across the glowing platforms. The city seemed to celebrate with them. The soft shimmer of lights, the gentle sway of floating plants, the quiet hum of energy, all reflecting the harmony and balance that Mira and Neri had achieved together. As night fully settled, the floating islands glowed like a sea of stars. Mira looked at Neri and smiled. She realized that this assignment had become one of the most important chapters of her life, showing her the power of curiosity, courage, and connection. Neri's small smile mirrored her own feelings, quiet but full of promise. Together they stood at the edge of the terrace, looking toward the horizon of Zithara and beyond. The world was vast, full of challenges, beauty, and wonder. Mira felt ready to face it all, not alone, but with Neri by her side. The assignment may have officially ended, but their journey, the journey of friendship, discovery, and trust, was only just beginning. In that glowing moment, Mira realized that humans truly could shine in the stars. They could bring courage, creativity, and heart to any world they touched. And with Neri beside her, Mira knew that they would explore the universe together, leaving a mark not just on Zithara, but on every life they encountered.